Welcome back to the Media Bolt Podcast, where we talk all things content creation. So whether you're filming with a phone or you're making big budget cinema movies on a cinema camera, we're here to provide you with practical knowledge for the next time that you press record. Today's episode is going to be a little different than some of the stuff we've done in the past. We are here with a filmmaker and a subject and talking about a brand new documentary called Warrior Princess, where my girl here, Violet, takes on the world and as a amateur boxer that's working her way up and doing amazing things here in the city of Milwaukee and be representing our country in the ring. And we're here with the filmmaker, Vianca Fuster, who has been following this story along since you've been 12.
Yes.
And and now she's 16, doing amazing things, and this is just a great story, and we're really excited to highlight it today. So I'd like to welcome both of you here to the pod. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is like so cool. So you guys are actually launching the film today.
Yes, we have officially dropped it, posted it, put it out into the world 4.5 years later. So
4.5 years. So you watched Violet grow up through this whole process, and it's on camera. Like, that's an amazing thing you'll be able to have forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think she saw me grow up a little bit too in those 4.5 years.
That's dope. So we'll start off before we dive too deep into the story and all that. I just want to know, like, what got you into documentary filmmaking and picking up the camera and doing this?
So I got introduced to filmmaking as just like any type of art form platform. My senior year of high school, I took an elective, like a film, I can't remember the name of the course, but it was basically like we would watch films and write papers about them and things like that. It was just a random elective. I'm sure it doesn't even exist anymore because it's MPS, but I took that elective and then I took a creative writing class. And in the creative writing class, I had the opportunity to write a script as part of the curriculum. And at the time, Milwaukee Film had a youth cinema program. I think it's called collaborative cinema. It's been discontinued for a while, and they have different programming now. But they had a script screenwriting program or like competition. You submit a script. The top 5 scripts would get selected, and one of them would be selected to be made into like an actual short film. And it'd be all professional filmmakers in Milwaukee volunteering to make this film over the course of a weekend. So the top 5 scripts got to be a part of the set and intern on set for the weekend. And so that was my first ever experience into what like filmmaking really was. I'd watch like Disney movies and things like that, but I didn't grow up any type of cinema buff. I didn't watch Citizen Kane at the age of 12. I don't have that kind of story. Like I got introduced to the game really late, but that experience set off all these events that I would never have predicted to have happened, including, okay, I'm gonna apply for film school. And so I applied to go to Columbia in Chicago, and I decided that I wanted to have a concentration in cinematography. So I was there for 2 years, and in my second year, in my second semester, we had to direct a short film, like a short narrative film and a short documentary film. And I had way better and way more fun of an experience doing the documentary. And it's crazy because a couple weeks ago, we were in Chicago and she was sparring, and just down the block was literally where that documentary took place 10 years ago. So I did a documentary with my friend Melissa. She's like literally the only friend that I made at Columbia. Shout out to Melissa. We directed a documentary called Seize the City about a graffiti artist in Chicago. And on the south side of Chicago in the Brighton Park area, there's like this hidden old school like industrial factory that's closed down right like adjacent to some train tracks. And I don't even know how to describe it. I'd have to show you a picture, but it's all concrete, and it's what's called a permission wall. So people are allowed to have graffiti art up there without it, because in Chicago it's a felony. Mm-hmm. I think after your second time getting caught doing like graffiti/vandalism, it's a felony, or at least at that time it was when we were making that project. So yeah, we went to sparring like a month ago, and then we literally were down the street from that permission wall where like most of the project took place. So that was my intro to documentary, and I kind of became obsessed with it from there. And then, so I was at Columbia for 2 years, and then decided to come back home and finish my degree at UW Milwaukee in journalism. Nice. But like was still very interested in doing documentary. And going into my junior year, when I transferred back home, I started an internship at Radio Milwaukee, a video internship. And so that, again, was like another chain of events that have just like evolved and eventually led to this right now.
Now. Yeah. So then why Violet's story? Like what about Violet made you say, I'm going to dedicate the next 4 years of my life to tell this story that's happening right here?
Well, I didn't know I was going to dedicate 4 years of my life to doing that. That was not the plan. No offense. I'm glad I did, because just everything needed to play out the way it did. And like something that we've been talking about so much in the past week is like timing is key. Things happen when they're supposed to happen. You can't rush them, right? I knew, so I had been working for 88.9 for about a year and a half. I had been getting experience working on like short form documentary content that we would publish online and doing like little web documentary series, so to speak. And I really wanted the opportunity to try and direct my own project. I knew that I wanted to do a project that would be like a way of me being able to give back to my community. And the United Community Center, I went to school there, and my mom has a house, and I grew up 2 blocks away from the United Community Center. So UCC is heavily a part of my life. I'm an athlete. I played basketball. I first started playing basketball when I was a student at UCC. And so I've always been aware of the gym. I've always been aware of Shorty, who's the coach that started the gym. He's just kind of been like a living legend even since I was her age and younger. So I've always just been aware of that program. And when I was at 88.9, I actually did a story, a video story for Community Stories about Shorty and Javier Martinez. I don't even know if you know this. We did an interview with Javier Martinez, who is now a professional fighter, but at the time was going to be competing in the Olympic trials, which he did end up winning that Olympic trials. So I knew that I wanted to give back. I knew I wanted to do something like with the boxing program, because ever since I did that piece with Shorty, which was like a year prior to meeting Violet, it's just always been in the back of my head, like, oh, I would love to go back there and expand on that.
It's a place I want to go, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, that's like the stomping grounds. That's my roots, right? So, what I started, like, actually I reached out to the coach, Angel, and I asked if he had any girls that were boxers, because I also wanted to do, just in my own experience being a woman in film that's male dominated, and being a former athlete that's playing basketball, which is male dominated. Like, I just wanted to, if I'm going to use my platform, it'd be so dope to be able to do something about a female boxer, right? And then he gave me Violet, essentially. And it's just kind of like clicked instantly. I feel like we clicked right away when we first met. We were just goofy with each other right away, and just I can't even describe like how close we are now. It's like having a daughter and a little sister all in one.
Yeah, y'all have a really cool. I could just tell by when you came in, your dynamic. It wasn't like y'all work with each other. It's like y'all are family in a way.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've been through the trenches together, right? Like,
definitely.
We've traveled together and have stayed together and have won a lot together, have lost a lot together. So we've definitely been through a lot together. I forgot what the original question was.
Yeah, just like, I guess you kind of answered that.
Yeah.
Why Violet?
Yeah.
She was kind of shown to you.
Yeah,
and given
so
to you.
that's, Angel basically gave me, he was like, here's Violet on the platter. Damn. And I met her, and it was just phenomenal. And she had already been in the news before, because she had won. By the time I met her, she had won 2 national championships already. So I think she had did a story with Fox already prior to me even meeting her. And at the time, she was 11, going to be 12. So yeah, it was like May of 2019 that happened, where I met Violet for the first time. Her birthday's in June, so that first shoot that we opened the film with, that first scene that we see is her 12th birthday. That's the first time I ever filmed with her. It was so awkward.
Yeah, it was
the most awkward experience ever.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about that. Violet, like, what was that like when she shows up with a camera in your face, kind of all up in your business?
It was so different, because she's like, because my family was there, and it was kind of weird seeing seeing her with the camera and knowing she's filming me. It's like I had to act like myself, because I had to act like there wasn't a camera there, because she's documenting my life. But it was so hard, because it was like the first time I've ever been in front of a camera, so it was like so hard not to look at the camera, or even like she was like invisible, like shouldn't be looking at her at all. But it was kind of hard, because I've never like done anything like that before, because I've only ever been interviewed before Vianca started filming me. So it was like really weird and hard to not look at her while she was there. Like,
I love hearing this because we've never really talked about this ourselves.
Yeah.
We've just
Yeah.
been so in the film ourselves, like making it, and so this is so good to hear, like her perspective.
To this day,
but I will say, by the end of the film, she was completely embracing the camera. Like
she knew where to look after landing the punch and all that stuff. Yeah,
completely.
Well, that comes with like the territory, and now you're used to the limelight. Like it's gonna also help accelerate your career and being, ready for PR and just things like this. Like this is a great thing for you to do these type things.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be, because one day there'll be an HBO documentary happening for your title fight.
It'll make it so much easier because like in the beginning, knowing from the beginning when it was like I didn't know what to do with myself when I seen a camera in front of me, now to it kind of being normal, it's just feels different.
So cool.
She's gonna get a 30 for 30 one day. I'm speaking that into existence.
Put it out there. It's
ESPN. We're here.
Directed by you though.
Oh, of course.
Let's go.
Avi.
Yeah. So, what has it been like, first of all, as a filmmaker, watching Violet grow as a fighter? I'm gonna imagine throughout that time you've grown as a filmmaker as well. So, what's the synergies been like? Actually watching her grow and you're learning at the same time, and you guys are kind of going this way together in your careers.
It's funny that you asked that because literally a couple of days ago I was at the gym editing and I told her, like, I was like, the way that we see her grow up so much in the film, like she's turning 12, so by the end of it she's driving herself to the gym, like it's crazy. So just but I told her, I was like, the way we see you grow up throughout that film, I can see myself grow up as a filmmaker from beginning to end, because it gets better towards the end.
You could tell the clips from the beginning to the clips to the end that she's definitely learned a lot more.
I've learned so much. And it's like, I even laugh, like when you were saying your intro about making films with either an iPhone or my film was literally made on everything. Like iPhone, a Mark III, a Panasonic EVA 1, an FS7, an A7S2, an A7S3. Like I literally had to use any possible tool that I had available to me. But you know what? This experience taught me how to use all those tools to begin with, right? But yeah, I definitely have grown so much as a storyteller. And even from I did everything. I shot, I had a couple, like the interview shoots that are really nicely lit. Obviously, Spencer Ortega was the gaffer on that. And we had like a whole crew, sound people, extra cameras and all that for like 2 or 3 of those shoots. But it was basically just me at the gym every day or at her house or traveling with her and her coach to all these tournaments. And from a storytelling perspective, even like I did all the editing too, right? So I don't even know if I should get into this, but what we put out is a 20-minute version, but we did a film festival run in 2022. Mm-hmm. So we did 4 different festivals, the big one being the Milwaukee Film Festival, where we had the big theatrical premiere and we got to do the Oriental, and that was an amazing experience. And that was 2 years ago. So we put out a version of it, and then now revisiting it and wanting to put it out on this day, like I was re-editing it over the week and I was like, why did I make that decision? Like, what prompted me to make that choice? And why did I color that so dark? It's so like, I don't know. There's just so many things that I have definitely learned and have taken away from this whole process. And it's like, I've always told people, this is the film that taught me how to be a filmmaker, like hands down. And it just came from doing, and it came from doing badly until I finally learned how to do it well.
I think that's the beautiful part of what I watched. I looked at it and I see the progression in the cinematography, the movement of the camera, just like all that with your skills. Obviously, I see you grow up and those punches are hitting harder. Your feet are quicker, like all those things. And it's like this, it's almost like the filmmaking lended itself to her story as well in a very special way that, that has to be real.
Yeah.
And it really is. And I think that's what's super beautiful about the piece. Just from my perspective, that watching it, you know what I mean? I'm going to ask you a question about this because you shot for 4 years. What was it like categorizing, saving, all these different clips, all these different moments to then finally Like, did you sit down like 3 years later to start editing? Or were you always kind of editing scenes? Like, what was that process? Because that's a long time to kind of deal with
no, for sure.
footage, you know?
No, that's a great question. So when I decided to leave 88.9, this was the summer of 2019, I actually got the Brico Forward Fund in the spring of the year. And I think that's what prompted me, or no, the fall of the year. And so that's what prompted me to try to make the film full time, was the fact that I was able to get some funding for it. I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm sorry. Say that question again.
Yeah, just like how'd you deal with all the different footage for so many years?
Right. Yeah. So I got the Brigo Forward Fund, and I had, where I was going with that was that I had received a fellowship from Kartemquin Films in Chicago, and it was a year-long fellowship starting in January 2020, where I would be essentially workshopping my documentary, learning how to make a pitch deck and learning how to pitch my film to people. And by the end of it, we actually had to pitch our film to people. Like, we had a Sundance. I mean, unfortunately, COVID happened. We did the first 2 sessions in person, and then COVID happened and everything went virtual. So we didn't get a chance to meet these people in person like we would have, but like someone from Sundance was on the pitch presentation call. And so I had already been filming for about 6 months at that point. We already did Junior Olympics in June, and we did the national tournament where she wins her 5th national championship in December, right before the pandemic happens. And then she got the Boxer of the Year award. So we were amped up. We really thought, like, I mean, and we had no idea that the pandemic was coming. If that had not happened, this probably would have been a whole different project than done a long time. And maybe not, actually. I think, like, actually, I feel like the pandemic really played a role in how the story ended up shaping out. So being a part of that fellowship, I was kind of like having to already touch that material because I had to make demos and things like that and teasers. But when that pandemic happened, I kind of panicked, and it took a year and 3 months before, or a year and a half before we had like another tournament to film. And at the time I had just started freelancing full time in video production. So just I had, again, like really lucky timing where I had a lot of projects that I was editing throughout the first year of the pandemic. And so I was able to make things work that way. But it was definitely like, for the documentary, I was like, man, I don't know where this is going to go. Like, I didn't want to just cover 2 tournaments. I felt like there was more of the story to tell. But we just didn't know how things were going to play out because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then we got the first tournament coming back. We're excited. And then she lost. And I think we all kind of internally panicked because we were like, this is not how the story was supposed to go.
Yeah.
And well, in fact, it's absolutely how the story was supposed to go. And it's so much better for it. Not even just screw the documentary, but just who we all are as people now because of the story. So that was 2021 was the first time that we had that tournament back. And actually, there's just a lot of random things that kind of kept happening throughout the year. So later that year, I was able to pitch her story to the Today Show, and they did a set of stories called The Power of Sports. It was like a 4-episode series that they had on their this new online streaming platform that they have called Today All Day or something like that. And following the Olympics, which were postponed that year to August 2021, they were going to be broadcasting this series, like one long series. And I didn't know this when we were doing the project, but the news anchor like kicked it off in front of the Olympic rings in the Olympic Village in Tokyo. So that was another instance in where I was still touching the footage because this opportunity came about, right? So that was the 4-minute version.
Got it.
And then I was like, oh, let's try to do some festivals with what we have, even though she lost. Like, we came up with something pretty good for the Today Show. So maybe I can like expand on that a little bit and just tease that, like we hope to get the number 1, because that's where it ended. Like, I want my number 1 spot back. Right. The Today Show version ended with her losing. But like with the hope that she's going to get that spot back. And so then I submitted to a couple other festivals, and they took it virtually, and it then became like a 10-minute version, which I couldn't even tell you today. I don't have no recollection of what that storyline was for that one. So that was the end of 2021. And then 2022 came, and I found out I got into the Milwaukee Film Festival with that 9-minute version. And I was like, all right, we got to do it. We got to do it big for Milwaukee. It's the homecoming. And then she had a tournament at Silver Gloves. So we don't show it as a scene in the new version of the film, but it's a scene in the last version of the film. the one tournament that she did win in the tournament, like that where she had the 5 tournaments that she had lost, the one tournament that she did win had just happened when I found out that I got into the film festival. And so I was like, okay, we can end on a winning note. We can end on her having avenged that loss and making the comeback after. I mean, at that point, she had just only lost 2 tournaments, and then she won that one and lost a few more. So I had, like, in one way or another been touching the film, like, at some point. On and off. Yeah. And then the film festival happened. And then we had our ride and we did a lot of great things. We had, like, a bunch of children's screenings. We did the Milwaukee show at the Oriental and did the Q&A, which was, like, one of the best experiences I've had in my career. And then we did a cool program at UCC where we screened the film for free at UCC, and then all the kids that came got to come in to the boxing ring and, like, have a free boxing workshop, which was super cool. It was a lot of fun to get kids in the ring. So that after that run, I was kind of content with that. I was like, okay, cool. Like, we had our run, we finished what we said we were going to
do.
Yeah. And then,
yeah,
I mean, that was 2022, and then you lost a couple JOs in December.
After COVID, I think I won, like,
you won
one tournament out of the span of, like, 2 years. So, like, out of, like, 6 to 7 tournaments, I've only won one. And then 2023 is when I went on, like, a whole winning streak.
Yeah.
So then what prompted you to essentially re-release this film for, today, which it's going to be a few weeks from now when people see this, but what made you kind of redo that? You added some scenes. Can you talk about what was kind of added without spoiling anything?
For sure. Yeah. Well, we kind of already spoiled it because we literally put, like, the ending out. Well, no one knows it, but at the time, but we did, like, a video of that ending. Anyways, we'll get to that. So what prompted the re-release was that Violet was competing in the Youth National Championship in December. So every December for USA Boxing, there's the National Championships. It's the biggest tournament of the year. Every 4 years, that same tournament hosts the Olympic trials. So when we went in December to Louisiana for this championship, they were also hosting the Olympic trials for Paris, which is a phenomenal experience in itself, just to witness. So in one of my first interviews with Violet and with her coach, she talks about that she wants to make the national team, and she explains to me what that is. And in my first interview with Angel, also in 2019, he talks about, my goal is to get her on the junior national team and for her to have the Team USA experience. So we then fast forward 4.5 years, we're at the Youth National Championship. She's on this comeback streak where she's won 4 national tournaments or 3 national tournaments. I don't know.
It was
Detroit.
4.
It was 4. Yeah. So she won 4 tournaments.
You cold, girl.
And mind you, and I wasn't filming at this point either.
Okay.
And so that'll be, like, for people who maybe have questions about, like, the film from a production standpoint. I stopped filming in 2022 after we did the festival. At that point, I felt like, again, we'd done what we thought we set out to do. It's been a long 2+ years of us doing this and of her living this way. She needs a break. I need a break. I really didn't have plans to revisit it. And then we went to nationals and I was like,
she's like, let me just film, because if you win, this is going to be a big thing for you. So that's kind of what it was like. She's like, I'm just going to film because, like, she's seen the potential. And then, just kind of went from there.
Yeah. For listeners, Violet, can you just tell us a little bit about what you accomplished there?
So this past the tournament in December, which was the Olympic trials, as she was saying, I had an opportunity to compete to get onto the youth international team. And this is kind of a tournament that this is what I've been working for, like, basically my whole boxing career. Because that was one of my biggest goals besides trying to make the Olympics, because I knew this would give me a big opportunity to put my name out there and make me become more known in the boxing community. So that was one of my biggest goals. And once the time came, it came really fast. I knew, like, it was a big thing. And then I knew I had to put my all because this is what I wanted. So once I won, I was in like complete shock because like it's a big thing. And still like now talking about like everything I have to prepare for, because I'll be going to the Olympic Training Center in April, which is not that far away. I just have to mentally prepare myself because I'm still like not fully like aware of what's going on. This is what I wanted for so long. So now that I have accomplished it, I just can't wait to travel out of the country and to represent my country.
That's amazing. You get to wear the stars and stripes.
Yes, I'm so excited.
So cool.
So proud of you. Like, I'm
Thank you.
just meeting you here today, but like, it's so inspiring. And, you know, you come from Milwaukee, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just so cool to see people like anything is really possible no matter what, you know?
Yeah, it's just like never give up, because I was really at a point of where I wanted to stop, which was like right after COVID, when I had lost my first tournament, because I went on like a 5 tournament winning streak, and I didn't know what it felt like to lose in a long time. And after I'd lost, I was kind of like at the point where I was like, whatever, like after I lost my first 2 tournaments coming back from COVID, I was just like, it was kind of like whatever to me. Like I was trying my best, but like if I wasn't winning, I kind of wasn't I wasn't really mad at myself because I've experienced losing for so long. Then it kind of just like snapped, like I need to get it together, because like I have the biggest tournament of my life coming up. Like even 2 years before this moment came, I knew I had to like pick it up, because there was going to be girls fighting for that spot like a lot. So,
well, what was it like to be going through such a, I guess it's a moment that's tough to dealing with a loss, your first like big loss.
Yeah.
And then you got her with a camera right there in your face, and you're dealing with, you know, one of the toughest times of your career.
You know,
like how did y'all make that
she's
happen?
seen a lot of bad days, and she's definitely seen the attitude and the like angriness that have came out of me. Like when, even on training days, like when I was in the time where I was not winning, like there was days where I just didn't want to train at all. I didn't want to I was lazy. I didn't want to do anything. She's definitely has some clips of me not doing anything, but I think she's seen the potential, and everyone in the gym seen the potential. So they're pushing me to keep going because they seen it in me. I just had to see it in myself, because I was the only one who didn't see it, because I was going through a hard time. But they were telling me like everyone. It's not perfect. Like you're not going to win all the time. So you have to like kind of face the facts that you're going to lose at times. You can't just like give up on yourself. Like you have to keep pushing. You have to keep trying your hardest, because that's what's going to get you to win.
Learn how to be resilient, right?
Yeah. She's definitely seen a lot of the bad times, but I mean, that's kind of what's a part of boxing. Like it's going to come at times.
I think, you know, Vianca, you did a good job telling the story and actually having some of those moments in there. But because I think in the hero's journey and in documentaries, you never know what you're going to get, but you guys got the lows and the highs and got to finish on, you know, something positive. And that's timing, like you said, like you could have never guessed. Was there a point when you were doing the film as a filmmaker mindset, you're like, oh, like, was that hard, the loss? Because you're like, if they get the win, that might be the end of the film, right? You might feel a different type of way, but that loss happened. How were you able to process that as a filmmaker? Did that help propel you forward to continue, or like, what was that?
I totally panicked. I think I cried a little. I was like, no.
I think we were both.
I think we all cried.
Yeah, we were both like, what do we do? Like
parents, coach,
yeah,
filmmaker, boxer, we all cried.
It's so real too. Like y'all are so close knit. Like that hurt you, not just as a filmmaker, but like that's your girl. Like
yeah, and like I said, I just see so much of myself in her and her story and what my experience was like and continues to be like. So it's like I was talking to somebody else about it. It's like I hate when people say, "Oh, it's just business," like, you know, especially as it pertains to like a film, like, or like the art. But like this film is so deeply personal to me for so many reasons, and it's because of like my relationship with Violet as well. So seeing her lose was so painful, and it was really, I mean, I feel like I kind of violated the documentary rules because I captured her after she had lost and she like was crying, but then I cut, like I'm not a big fan of, not that I would ever exploit like her emotional experience or anything like that, but like I'm human. I again see so much of myself in her. I know what it's like to lose and to cry and to have your mom critique you right away in the car on the way home, whatever, which my mom did to me. Like, Mom, you did not play basketball. I don't want your advice. I think everybody gets that, right? So I like, truthfully, I think we all kind of panicked, and I almost felt like superstitious even when we filmed. So going back to the December tournament, she was like, I asked if I could film. Like, I left it up to her. I wanted her to want to be filmed. And she was like, if I make it to the finals, yeah, you can film it. But it's like, I'm like, girl, like, we're gonna make it to the finals. Like, come on. But I still filmed from the stands though. So I didn't film ringside.
So the first two, I had to fight 3 times. And the first 2 times she kind of just was in the stands cheering for me. And then when it came to the finals, which she's brave for that, because when she's in the corner, she has to be like neutral. So like she can't cheer. And in the finals, she decided to go to the neutral corner to film at ringside. And I don't know how she did it, because I would have been screaming if that was me.
Yeah. The very first time I filmed. So when you're filming in the boxing tournament, there's like one corner there's a red corner and the blue corner, and you're in the neutral corner, and you can only be there to film, which makes it so hard to get other angles. Those like unless you have multiple like cameras, but it would just be me. So I'm like confined to this angle. And the first tournament that I went, I was cheering for you. Like, again, that. This is me like, learning as a filmmaker. Like, why am I cheering when I'm filming?
Yeah, it was one of her first tournaments that she was there to like film my tournament. And I got in trouble for that. And she got in trouble for cheering in the neutral corner. It was really funny.
Yeah, got to be a partial filmmaker.
Yeah, I know. I like to be in it, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's funny that we like you bringing up that tournament, because I feel like after the loss and the losses started to come, we all started to feel like a little like
we were all kind of just like,
I think we were all on edge and kind of like.
I congratulate both of y'all for pushing through and not giving up, because that's life, right? And
it's not easy, but
I mean, we talked about it all the time, like all of us. I mean, we're like you said, close knit family. We're a tight team. We do a lot and experience a lot together, and we all play a different big part in Violet's growth and just like helping her with what she needs, and to prepare and support her in any way we can. So none of us gave up on her, and we knew that it was in her head more than it was anything else. It was just a matter of her snapping out of it, which she ended up doing. And I was gonna write it out for my girl for sure, you know. But when the opportunity came to then do the release today, so a couple weeks ago, I reached out to the CEO of the Milwaukee Youth Sports Alliance. His name is Quentin Prince, because I found out via LinkedIn that there was going to be the National Girls and Women's in Sports Day awards event happening at the Gather by the Pfizer. And there was going to be a panel. They were honoring 4 women with an award for their work in sports. And I reached out like wanting to cover the event because, I'm in kind of like a transitionary period of my career where I'm trying to set myself up for what's next to come and kind of define like what I really want to do as a filmmaker myself, or as a creative or director or whatever. I don't have that title yet, but I just know that this is the work that I love to do most. Like, I'm happiest when I'm in the gym and I'm working with her, and I work with a lot of all the other kids at the gym too. I run the UCC boxing page in my spare time. I go to the gym, I posting on stories, taking pictures and making videos. I still travel with the team and do recap videos with them at tournaments, just because I love to be around them and to see. I mean, she's not the only kid that I've seen grown up so much, and it's crazy because she travels with about 5 or 6 other competitive boxers, all boys. But like I have footage from 2019, and they're like this, whereas now they're taller than me. Crazy. So I have had that experience with a lot of the other kids at the gym, which has been like just so meaningful. So I reached out to him and I was like, I would like to cover your event. I'm trying to work more in the sports industry. Like, that's where I think that I'd like my career to be headed. Here's a project that I worked on, and here's the work that I do with UCC. Just trying to give myself some credibility. And his response back was like, we want to feature part of your film and have Violet speak at the event. And so all of a sudden,
look at that.
She's following the keynote speaker at this event with a speech. And we're going to be able to show people a part of the film. And then, so that was about 2 weeks ago. We did the nationals. I put out a recap video for nationals, and I revisited the documentary because in that recap video, I included parts of the film. I included the part of the interview where she in 2019 or 2020 where she said, I want to make the national team. And like, so there's this whole montage series that starts off. Well, actually it starts off with her coach saying, we've been working for this whole time. This is what we've been working for. And then you see this like flash montage of her throughout the years that I've been filming her. And she says that she wants to make the team, that she wins and she makes the team. So that ending was essentially already edited, that new ending. And I think did you think about it at all? Like, oh, we should like add this before I said anything to you, was it at all on your mind that we should add anything to the documentary?
Like before it was finished? Like
no,
before
like
we
after
added?
nationals, like going into nationals, after nationals, like, it happened and you won.
Yeah, I knew like,
or even now that you've made the team, has there been any thought like, oh, we should just keep doing this? No pressure. But
I feel like
it's determined a lot.
The way the document ended right now was good, but I feel like there's still so much more to come that it could be much longer.
Was it on your mind though after nationals, like that I should put that in there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like where it was before nationals, it was like when you ended it was when I won Silver Gloves. Yeah, and there's so much more happened in between then. And yeah, and then me talking about wanting to be on the national team and then winning, it was like goes so good together.
Yeah. So yeah, the last version ends with her winning that one tournament, but she was in the midst of that losing streak, and so I'm sure for her, she's like, "No, man, we got to rewrite this ending." Which, hey, that's story. Like one of the morals of this story is you can rewrite your own ending, right? So this opportunity came. And I was like, you know what? We should just drop the film on National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Like that would be so sick. Like that. Why not? That'd be the perfect day, if any, to release it. But if we're gonna do it, I have to revisit it because, like I said, from an aesthetic standpoint and from a story standpoint, there's a lot of things that I was like, oh, that's got to go. That's got to be reworked. And I had been going through the hard drive and just like really trying to take account of everything that I had. Like I really wanted to be familiar with everything that I had because I know I didn't use everything that I had. And so then I found all this other gold. And I found these extra moments with Shorty who's no longer in the gym with us. And so it's like having that was so emotional, and just all these little nuggets that I was like, I feel like I knew that I had them. Maybe I just forgot. And when you're in the midst of editing and you're like, okay, this is where the story is heading, I don't really need to look at any of that. Wrong. Like another lesson learned. Go through every single file that you have because I really just found just some great stuff to add. And then we wanted to add the nationals, and then I made the crazy decision to do an extra interview with her and Angel on Saturday. Nice. So on Saturday, we did the scene where she drives herself to the gym. That was all on Saturday. What's today? Tuesday? Wednesday. Yeah. Yep. So 5 days ago.
And it made the final cut.
Yeah.
It made the final cut. Yeah.
I saw the Instagram stories. You were up like how late last night?
She was up to like.
I've been up till 2 a.m. since last week Monday. Every day I go to work, I go home, and I've been editing till 2. I edited all weekend. My head hurts.
Yeah. Hey, congrats, y'all got it done. Can each one of you real quickly tell me your favorite part of this whole process? Like Violet, what was a moment for you? Like this was my favorite part of like watching a film being made. Not necessarily like your wins or losses, but like what was your favorite part of like, oh, I'm in a movie kind of thing?
Just being able to, like, now that the film is finished, being able to watch it and see how much I've grown over time, and like seeing how much how much more mentally strong I am now compared to before a few years ago when I just let anything get to me. It's just like now I'm just like, why would you let that like get you down? Like it just makes me like I'm proud of myself for being able to push through it and be strong about it, because now I would not go like, it's crazy. Like,
well, you grew up a lot emotionally, physically, like.
Yeah, like boxing is not like, it's physically hard, but mentally it's way harder. Like you have to be mentally strong in order to be able to pursue a boxing career, because I thought in the beginning, I thought being able to not get tired in the ring and have good technique and like know how to figure out a fighter was going to be the way to win a fight. But that's really doesn't matter at all. It's really all mentally, because you got to know how to be strong and be able to push yourself on the hard days of training, being able to tell yourself that you still have to go to the gym and train because the other girl's training just as hard or maybe even harder than you. Knowing like that I can do that and mentally push myself just makes me so proud of myself, because a few years ago I probably wouldn't know what to do with myself.
That's dope.
Felt.
That's dope. Yeah.
Feel that.
How have you found, as you were filming her through that growth, were there moments where you're behind the camera and you go, oh, she took a step? Like, I can see that happen right there. Like, she's grown. Or maybe she wouldn't have reacted that way in the past. Like, she's blossoming into this warrior princess.
Oh, I don't know. It's hard because I feel like when I'm filming things, I'm just so in it, and I feel like I almost have that moment either when I'm like experiencing Violet not as a filmmaker, or like in the edit, and I can experience it that way. But I don't really know if there was a moment where I was like in the camera. I mean, obviously, I think the December tournament and the nationals. Because like I said, I still filmed from the stands. I was half cheering, half filming from the stands. Because they request that from me. Like they want me to yell. Like they can hear me. And there was a couple times where I told, like, I'll never forget this moment. When you were fighting your second fight, which was her best fight and her hardest fight, she had lost the first round completely, like to all the judges. And then the second round was really close. So she needed to win the third round. And I yelled her name and she looked at me and I told her, I was like, you have to do it now. If you don't do it now, it's not like you have to do it now. And like, we have that on camera, which is pretty crazy. But like, those are like, I feel like when I'm witnessing her not as a filmmaker is when I get to experience her growth the most, which is like the best part. And I try to find a balance between that, because like, she's human, I'm human. Like, this is still a person, and this is a person that I really care about and who I've seen go through so much and who I like love and I'm so proud of. So I feel like I have a lot of those moments. Like when I get to see her, seeing her speak today was phenomenal. Like she got a standing ovation after her speech. It was just so great. And when we did the film festival, she came up on stage with me and she did that. I feel like seeing her kind of blossom in that way. And
now you're on the podcast together.
Now we're on the podcast together.
Because a few years ago, I definitely would not know what to say.
I mean, there's a good little. It took time for her to know what to say to me. You know what I mean? And then
there's a few interviews.
This was awesome because initially we were just gonna sit down and talk about your career and what you've done and this and that, and you brought it up to me about like, what if we go this direction with this podcast? And I was all for it. I thought that was like a great PR move on her part to help with the film and
trying to get my girl out there.
Yeah, and get you out there. And I'm super stoked to have this conversation with you guys. Like, first of all, you're a national treasure. Like, you're gonna always have that under your belt for forever. You know what I mean? And you'll be able to tell your family and your kids, this is what I did. I represented my country, and that's just it's an unbelievable thing. So enjoy these moments that you got coming up. Focus on the goal. Focus on the gold. Like, go for that. But I'm super, like, I feel gracious to be sitting in a room with someone like you. Yeah, it's super awesome. Vianca, what's next for you filmmaking wise? Like, what do you have your eyes on? I see you've been doing some other boxing videos with, there's another kid.
Javier Zamarón.
Javier.
Javi, we miss you. He's in California right now training at Robert Garcia's camp, and he's got a professional fight coming up in March. So he's Violet's teammate.
My brother, basically.
Yeah, they're super tight. And Angel is his coach now that he's a professional. He coached him as an amateur and now coaches him professionally as well. So I mean, there were a lot of those tournaments that Javi was there with us.
Okay.
So he's actually kind of a hidden figure in this documentary. There's shots of him in the project that I don't even know anybody notices.
I will have to go. See how many times he happens in there.
Yeah, he's in here. He's in there,
and he lost at the same Louisiana tournament that you lost at. And so you guys did a few tournaments together while I was filming you, and then he ended up winning a national championship, and then went pro. And so he's just another one a person that I worked with, super close with him too. I look at him like kind of like how I look at Violet, like they're like my little boxing family.
Planning to do something with him, like a piece together?
We've talked about it. We've just had never had the time because I've been consumed with just work and then doing this project, and then he'll be gone months at a time training for his fights in California, and then after his fights, then he's home for a little bit. So timing hasn't worked out yet on our part, but we still do a lot of content regardless, and I'm always with a camera when I'm around Javi too. So
for sure,
we got to do he fought in the Pfizer Forum April 1st on the Roy Jones Jr. Anthony Pettis card.
Yeah, I remember
so
seeing
that was insane, walking out of and he said it too, like walking out of the same tunnel that Giannis walks out of. Having that type of homecoming show was incredible, and the people really showed out for him and showed up for him too. So that was a special experience. And then we got to do Overtime together. So Overtime, if you're familiar, it's a sports platform. They do a lot of basketball stuff. They're into boxing now.
Nice.
And so they did 4 shows in August, and they're kind of shaking things up a little bit. Like they have this whole there's no ties. If you have a tie scorecard at the end of it, there's an overtime round, and that's going to determine it's sudden death basically. So he got to be a part of that show, and so that's kind of shook things up and made a lot of waves.
Yeah.
And it's just been announced that they're going to be doing some more stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to get him on that. But I got to go to Atlanta with him at the Overtime Arena and got to film that. So between that and the Pfizer Forum, I say my top 3 filming experiences all time, hands down: Overtime, Pfizer Forum, and Nationals with you / the whole damn film. So cool. So I will continue working with boxers. We'll continue, like I said, I'd like to do more women's sports in general.
Is there any specific sports you kind of eyeing? I know you're a hooper in the past.
So basketball would be cool. I'm kind of open to anything. I'm just trying to develop some relationships and figure out how I can just tell more of these stories.
Yeah, exactly.
But my girl's on her way to potentially winning a world championship, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about the 2028 Olympics in LA. So
Sick.
That's always on the back of our minds, I think. No pressure, but it's there.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, and
Keep
what
grinding.
did you just say? There's an opportunity for it to be so much longer. So why not give the people what they want, right? So, I think I feel like that's just something that's just always going to be there. And I mean, I'm just going to always be in her life outside of this film and beyond this film. So even if it's not making a film, I can't wait to just witness all of that unfold. So what's next for me is to watch her continue to do her thing too.
It's really cool to see a filmmaker so passionate about what they're doing, because a lot of times we have our foot in the door, but we don't know the world, so we're learning the world as we're building a film, right? But you grew up in her world. You grew up in her world, that's super cool, and it's rare. I don't know of another case that's really like that. I think that's why this is special, why it hits different, and I've just been having a blast listening to you guys talk right now. This is super cool.
Thank you.
Can you tell me and tell the audience where they can find the film, get tapped in, watch it, and let's start with that part.
Okay, so easiest way would be on my website. ViancaFuster.com/The Warrior Princess. That's where the film lives right now. It's on YouTube. So they can just go straight to that link and check it out. On Instagram, I'm at ViancaF_, and Violet is at, we'll have to write it in text because it's kind of long, but she's at Vi_The Warrior Princess_Lopez.
And that's such a fire name.
Thank you.
I know. And it's when I'm like, oh, that's the movie. That's the name of the movie right there. There's no better name than that.
So that was your name prior to choosing it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yes, I met her. She was already the warrior princess. So,
well, I just want to say thank you guys so much. I got to sit down with Vianca and the warrior princess and learn you guys' story together. I mean, this is just a very powerful thing. I think our audience is going to love this story and get to go watch the film and just take in this moment. It's huge for the city of Milwaukee, things you're doing and being a documentarian and covering history, that's man, I just feel blessed. I'm in this room with you guys today. thank you guys so much for coming on the pod. I really appreciate it. Yes. Give you a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Go watch the film.
Go watch the film. So no matter where you take in your podcasts, whether you're watching them or you're listening to them, please do all the nice things. Subscribe, like, comment, help this show get out there. And please go watch Warrior Princess, available now on YouTube. And we just thank you for joining in with us today. All right, have a good one.